Welcome back to Choose Christ Completely. We hope this segment of your time is a blessing to you and your family and deepens your relationship with the Father. I am Brandon Kegley, and together with Justin May, we're going to talk about living as children of the light. That's why the New Living Translation has the first part of this, and I like it better than the other ones.
Yeah.
The message was, the old way has to go.
Okay, and what was the English Standard?
The new life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Oh, plain and simple
Yeah.
English Standard.
Yeah.
Well, did you have a good week?
Well, yeah, it was uneventful, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Nothing major occurring.
Good weekend?
Yes. Yeah. You got to tell us about your weekend since you went biking, and if you don't know, Justin's birthday is this week, so if you're listening, make sure you call and tell him how old he is.
Yeah. I'll just confess, I'm 38 years old, and if you say anything else older than that, you and I are not friends. Someone asked my children how old I was, and Shelby looked me dead straight in the eyes and said, 75? I was like, you just got disinherited.
Hey, you're halfway there to 75.
I am not halfway there.
To 75?
Not quite, am I?
Yeah.
I just made it.
When you turn 38, you'll be halfway, it'll be 76.
Yeah.
Justin didn't go to math school.
Is this a, yeah, us preachers, we're like, well, it looks like there's 1,000 people out there. I wonder.
Yeah, 500 people got baptized last week.
Anyway, so Cindy and I took a birthday trip. This is like a first thing for us. We've made maybe not the final decision. We're going to let the kids choose as they want, but we're probably not going to do birthday parties anymore.
Yeah.
They're very expensive, and they're fun for everybody to do something together. And if that's what we want to do, let's do that. But it's not like we get to spend any more special time with our kids.
Right. You spend more time with other people,
exactly,
not your kids. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so
you spend more time stressed out getting ready for it than.
Yeah. So we're going to let the children decide, do you want to take a trip of some type, some small trip, or do you want to do a birthday party? We'll do either one. You pick. And so Cindy was already, she was planning in the background for a trip for us. She kept it a secret. But she had to tell me like literally 5 minutes before we left, because I had to know where we were going. I'm the only one who drive the motorcycle. So.
Wait, so you didn't know, did you know what you were doing at all before Friday?
What I was doing?
Yes.
No, I knew we were planning on taking a trip.
Okay, so you knew you were going to take one. You just didn't know what to wear.
And we were hoping to take the motorcycle.
Okay.
I knew both of those things. Other than that, nothing. I swung my leg over, and she told me. So,
well, at least you know you were leaving.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we went to Asheville, which I've never really spent even a day in Asheville. It's been the first time. So
okay,
it's a fun little city.
Oh, so you've always just kind of gone through it,
just drove through and maybe stopped for something.
Y'all would like Asheville just because it's the hippie vibe, you know?
Oh, dude, it is straight hippie.
Yeah.
Like when we got there to the hotel and we were walking to where we were going to eat, and we stumbled on like a music festival thing, and it was straight hippies. It was like, oh, these are our friends. So that music festival called us, and we spent some time.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Yeah, you probably forgot where you were.
Yeah, and then we went to eat. So
yeah,
but we went to the art district. Have you ever been down to the art district?
Yes.
Okay, but now this was a first for me, and it was very cool. It's like a quarter of a mile, half a mile of
murals everywhere.
Of just just insane galleries, and
it's a little grungy.
You think?
Oh gosh, yeah, that part of Ash was a little grungy.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe we're talking about two different places. The Riverside Art
it's very nice, but it's a grungy nice. Does that make sense?
No, it does not make
All right.
sense.
I don't know how else to explain it.
Well, especially, I can understand grungy like down on the river there.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of closed factories.
Right.
So I do understand that part.
Yeah.
What
I think the aesthetics they're going for is like that. I forget what it's called, but like you go in an apartment and it's all, you see all the walls and everything.
Industrial.
Industrial. Yes. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. That's what I meant by grungy.
Well, I mean, even I think the main logo of that area is a gear, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're definitely going for the industrial thing. But
have you not been? So you haven't been to the Biltmore?
We didn't even go.
Have you been before?
Nope.
Oh man.
Cindy said, she was like, we should go.
Oh yeah.
She was like, but I don't know that we have enough time.
Not that trip.
She said, you're going to like, she's like, you're going to want to spend time there. I said, okay, we won't go.
Well, I've talked to Shawnee about this, so she listens this week cleaning. But, we've been twice.
Okay.
Twice for anniversaries and, or 3 times. I don't know, 2 or 3 times, but we've never taken the kids. And the kids would definitely enjoy seeing that large of an estate and walking through that. But if you're going to do it, I've been told, we haven't done it this way, but I've been told Christmas is the best time to go because they decorate it to the nines for Christmas.
I don't even know how to fathom it. Like, I've not seen it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I know it's huge. I know that's one of it's like, isn't it the largest house?
I think it was the largest house ever built.
Mansion house. What is it?
It's not a house. It's an estate.
Maybe not even a mansion.
Yeah. But it is. I don't know how big it is, but it is massive.
Yeah.
Tons of rooms. But it's also one of the downfalls of the Vanderbilt family. I was reading something, kind of funny we talk about it, because I was reading last week that in the 70s, 80s maybe, the Vanderbilt family gathered for a reunion, and not a single one of the Vanderbilt family was a millionaire. When Cornelius, was that the man that started it? I think so.
Sure.
When he started his companies, when he died, he was worth $200 million. In the 1800s. It's a lot of money. He was worth more than the entire United States. That's how much wealth he had. His son doubled the fortune during his life, or within like 5 or 10 years. And but so we're talking about $400 or $500 million that over 100-year period disappeared because of the untrained mind and just. They thought the money would last forever, but
lavish lifestyle.
Yeah. And the Biltmore is one of the hallmarks of that.
So it's one of the houses that was built by the family. Okay.
Yes, yeah. Okay. I think it took like 10 years to build or something like that. Had to, like they built road systems to get up there. It's a legitimate task. Yeah, so you definitely need to do it.
Well, we will.
And it's a day trip. I mean, you can make it a day trip because it's only 2 hours to drive.
Dude, you can get there from here, no problems.
Oh, yeah.
No problems. Especially, we took the motorcycle. If you took a car, you wouldn't even think about it. It'd be like, whatever. Yeah. This is, just a little bit more than some people's daily commute. It's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the commute, I've got to say something about, we were riding on, I think it's 26 between Johnson City and Asheville. Is that 26?
Yeah.
All right. And we're coming up and it's gotten pretty rural there. And then there's a sign on the interstate and it's like one of those yellow caution signs that usually has a picture of a deer and it had a picture of a goat, a mountain goat. And I was like, cause we have a little system where we can talk back and forth in our helmets. And I was like, so are we going to see mountain goats? And Cindy was like, there's no way we're going to see mountain goats. Like, that's not going to happen. And about 30 seconds later, right there was 6 of them right on the side of the interstate.
Really?
Have you ever seen them?
No. Yeah. No.
You got to pay attention.
We've gone that way a lot too. I've never seen them.
That's what several people have said is they've went that way a lot, but never seen anything like that. I was like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the season, but.
Well, and I'd say some of it too is the beauty of riding a motorcycle is you see more.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a car, you're more tunnel visioned and you really only pay attention to the road. You don't pay attention to the stuff around you as much.
Yeah. Yeah, it is the beauty of the motorcycle. Is
Yeah.
you pay attention to everything around you.
Yeah.
Well, you can see it. All you got to do is just turn your head and you see whatever you want.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well,
Well, cool. You saw mountain goats on the
we
interstate.
saw mountain goats on the interstate. We went through the art district, and then we went to Mount. Oh man, it just left me. What's the mountain out there that's like the tallest mountain?
Mitchell.
Mount Mitchell. That's it. It's the tallest mountain on the east of the Mississippi, and we went there on the Blue Ridge Parkway and back. So that was the big things we did.
Nice.
Let's get started. I think. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to read 3 different versions. You know, Brandon and I love answering your questions. So if you have any questions, we put a link in the description of the video or the podcast, wherever you're watching us. So click that link. Ask us any questions about biblical worldview and something you read. We'd love to talk about it and analyze that a little bit too. So ask some questions.
That's right. That's right.
We're getting ready to start the Discovery Bible Study process, and we're going to read 3 versions.
I do have something for you to think about, and
Okay.
we'll address it as we go because I think it ties into the day. But, you know, when you're talking about trained and untrained minds and think about it from a parental perspective, how do we properly train our children's minds without forcing their minds to fit our does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
so probably the better way. How do you properly teach the child how to fish so that they learn how to, so they can fish themselves versus, you know, doing it for them? So just, I don't know if you want to address it now or if you want to think about it, but.
Well, immediately my thought was, I love how people say brainwashing like it's a bad thing. And I guess in lots of contexts it is, but like,
I guess if you're brainwashing Jesus' love.
Exactly. That's our responsibility as parents is to brainwash our children, right? Is to teach them and to equip them and to train them up in the way that they should go. And the reason why I think strong language, like brainwash, is probably a good thing is because the world they live in is trying to train them up all the time. It's always trying to brainwash them into a way of thinking. That we're just so polarized in the world's trying to force them down into a mold.
Yeah.
And so I'm good with saying brainwash. I mean,
well, I mean, I guess if you're a non-believer listening, it'll sound like brainwashing, but I think we talked about it last week too. We talked about it a lot probably, but I still have yet to find somebody who truly follows biblical principles, their life just being, not that it's not they don't have bad things happen, but their life being bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, usually light flourishes from them, not darkness overall.
Well, I mean, that's how people find Jesus. I mean, I think one of the things that we see going on in this world that you and I live in the United States, we have seen this idea of like people who think they are God. Now, let me explain, because I know that was like a big statement. But there's people out there who will say there is no God, right? That's how they start their world. There is no God. And so if there is no God, then how I feel is what determines what is right. I mean, it's the only logical solution. And so if how I feel determines what's right, then that must make me God. And then if I'm God, the only thing I can find is what's wrong with everything else. You know, that's why they point out all the systems that are broken.
Yeah.
All this system's broken. All this system's broken. And I'm right and it's wrong. And like that is they quickly find, I think, a pretty empty life of like, man, this isn't taking me where I want to go. Like I'm just not going where I'm to fulfilled, purpose-filled, full life. I guess I'll try something else.
Yeah.
And a lot of people find Jesus in that moment because they'll find that when he's God, the order of those things get corrected, right? If he's God, he determines what's right.
Right.
If he gets determined what's right, then what's wrong is sin. When I choose to do what's against him, that's what's wrong. And the answer to that question is always Jesus.
So I guess in some ways, when it comes to the child side of things, we talked about a little bit during the Sermon on the Mount series. I can't just go to some random person I don't know and have a relationship with them and tell them they're terrible and wrong and sinning. But I guess my child, it is my duty to constantly point out the planks or the speck in their eye, right?
Yeah.
This has been, and maybe not too far, but
this has been a consistent verse for me for like 3 weeks in a row. Proverbs says, train a child up in the way they should go and they will not depart from it.
Right.
And it is our responsibility to train them up. That doesn't mean we always get it right. It's called training for a reason because you can get it wrong every once in a while. But if someone else looks at the way that I teach my children, they're like, he is brainwashing his kids. Some people, I'm going to be happy that that's their opinion.
I guess that's true. Yes, that's true. That's true. I've been thinking about this a lot lately with Paul's life. Paul's the one that mentions running a race and running it well. Too often Christians think of it as Paul just talking about your life, but I don't think he's talking about it just in the context of your life. 100 years to him is a second. Then running a race and running a marathon is a long, 2-3 hour process. So I think he's also talking about making sure we train up our children's and our children's children. You see that after Joshua, you have all these Israelites who see miraculous ones. Some of them are most miraculous signs that God ever gave. What they fail to do is tell their children and their children's children about what they saw. And so their children and children's children turn into terrible things because they forgot about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, it's still hard. A friend and I were having a discussion about it. It's still hard to figure out when you go too far and when you're not going far enough. As a parent, if that makes sense. The way I kind of phrased it was, we're given, as a parent, we have two ways I think to go about raising them properly, so that they love Jesus. One, we can pull them out of whatever situation they're in and create a bubble. And I think there's useful times for that. And the other is to teach them how to discern the situation properly. Mm-hmm. But it's not always easy to figure out. Part of the fallacy, I think, of the fall is that it's not always easy for us to figure out when and how to step in and when to step in properly.
Yeah. So when you say too far, give me an example of what you think
creating too much of a shelter so that the child doesn't really understand how the world works.
Okay.
I think, at least from when I went to college, I saw this where you had parents who created and crafted the environment for their child.
Okay.
They got to college and Pandora's box. The whole world's open to them, and they didn't know how to handle it. And so they did one of two things. They caved into the world, or they caved into themselves. And, the world side, they did whatever the world was doing. The self side, they became depressed, anxious kind of people. So I guess that's the extreme that I was talking about.
Sure. All right. Now take your extreme and give me the extreme of the other. Give me the extreme on the other side of it.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think you see when you have third generation pastors, that's evident of somebody who is doing it to the right extreme. Right. I mean, I heard it put this way once. When you're younger, you want to find somebody who is successful in whatever field you're going to do. Go learn from them, write down everything they say to do and do it.
Yeah.
And as you get older and have kids, you want to find somebody who has not successful kids. You want to have somebody who kids love them and love Jesus and learn and write down everything they do. Sometimes finding the latter can be the hard part. I think we can look in the world and say, all right, hey, Jack is successful. And what I'm trying to do, he's a successful doctor or successful pastor or whatever it is. I'm going to learn from him. But finding that we can kind of live in this world, the area that we don't always talk about our lives in an open way that maybe should be. So finding that second part is a little harder to find, in my opinion.
Well,
I don't know if I answered the question you had originally asked me, but
you did and didn't. I think like as a parent, like the extreme my mind was thinking about was the extreme of letting your kids
just run rampant.
Experience too much, right?
Yeah.
And not have any.
Yeah.
So it's like you have one extreme of like, oh man, there's too tight of reins, and then one extreme, there's no reins.
Right.
I would think that those parents that you see 2-3 generations of pastors, or you see kids who, I would think they're somewhere in the middle of those extremes. I don't.
Well, I suppose that's how God treats us too, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't discipline us every time we screw up.
So here's my immediate, I have a thought.
Okay.
And I think that sometimes we tell our children too much what to do and even how to do it. But we but we don't pair it with why. And I think one of the ways to not exasperate that's like a limit that the Bible says is us as fathers is don't exasperate. Isn't that what exasperate?
Yeah.
That's a hard English word to say. Don't exasperate our children. And I think part of the way we don't do that is we say, okay, we're going to not just tell you what and how, but we're going to take the time to say, here's why.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of this brainwashing.
Sure.
Our why is this is our biblical worldview. So
brainwashing would be telling you what and how to do it.
Yeah.
Not brainwashing is telling you what, why, and how.
Yeah. Just let me give you a story, and I'm going to try to hide the story a little bit. But I am a pretty strong-willed person. And I know another person who's a very strong-willed person. Now this person's we butt heads sometimes. I don't know if you've ever butted heads with someone like that, but one of the things I found that helps us is when we're butting heads is because we're both ready to fight on what? Is for me to stop and say, okay, here's why. So for Theo, if Theo has this moment where he's like, he wants to dishonor and not listen, I will say, hey, you're being rambunctious. Stop. That's what. This is what you're doing. Now stop it. Man, the best teaching moment is when I say why. And why is, I always think about the 10 commandments with that one is the first commandment with a promise to us that God says, obey, honor your father and mother, for your years on the earth will be long. This is the first commandment with a promise. And so when he's being overly rambunctious and won't listen and has his hard-headed moment, man, just go back to why. Hey, this is why. God says your life will go long on the earth, meaning you're going to have a good life if you honor your parents. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the why is, going through school, we're always going through this now too. I could always get the answer, but I couldn't always show you how I got there. And I still remember my first test in calculus. I got all the answers right. I got a 70. On the test. And that's because I didn't show a single bit of work. I just gave the answer. And the why sometimes is the hardest part of the teaching side, I think. But I think when you do it, it's not always immediate, right? Because look, anytime you discipline anybody, even if the why is good and valid, there's still going to be some butting of the heads. But
exactly,
I guess it still comes back to I told you about a story this past week, but we can't fill in the gaps of the stories. And part of me not filling in the gaps means I need to explain the gaps that somebody else sees at the same time. It's just not always comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Well, why? And explaining the gaps, those are things that tap more into not our thinking brain, but into our feeling brain, right? Our emotional side of like, that we, especially men, we tend to want to ignore
Sure.
and pretend like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Any other question? I mean, that was a good question. Like, we could keep talking about training our children. I do a really bad job most of the times, and then there's these little highlights that
it's all gonna be screwed up at some level, right?
Hey, I know my kids are eventually going to be on some counselor's couch. I just want to make it intentional. They're going to blame me for every problem. Sure you are, but you're going to blame me because of Jesus.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, we're talking about Joshua, and that's the irony is when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel, they're all together, right? And they came from a generation that just said it wasn't my fault. It was my parents' fault. That's how they trained me to be. I think we have to be careful. Even maybe that's, I don't know how we communicate that properly to the kids down the road, is that not every problem you have is because of me. I might have helped create these certain traits and personalities, but at the same time, you're still responsible for your own destination.
Yeah. You used Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they lived in what you said, an inherited world. They inherited a circumstance from their forefathers' choices.
Right.
The choices to go astray from God, and God said, "Okay, you'll go astray, really astray."
And there's some spies. I can't remember all those stories all the time, but there were some spies that did the same thing. And you never remember the spies you don't know the spy's name that did it, and you remember the spies' names that did what they were supposed to. But
there's.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I do.
Okay. I can't remember, but
you got two different time frames, right? Your Daniel time frame's like several hundred years later, but the one time frame you're talking about is actually with Joshua as well.
Okay.
They'll send 12 spies into Canaan to spy out the land, and the Bible says 10 of them come back and say, "Look at how big these people are. Like, they're ginormous, and look at how powerful they are. How are we ever going to take this land from them?" And 2 come back and say, it's a land flowing with milk and honey. Its grapes are beautiful and luscious. Let's go take what God's already given us.
Yeah.
And the 2 are Joshua and Caleb.
Okay, that's right.
And the 10 are...
Who knows? Well, and it's just kind of a good reminder that the 10 went into it with the thinking of their forefathers. They'd been trained to look for the fear, and Caleb and Joshua had been trained to look for God. Yeah. It's a hard thing still to teach a kid, especially as you're still walking that same path, just further down the path.
Well,
I mean, at some level, if you're listening, you're older,
and your children love you,
and they love Jesus. Do a better job of pouring into the younger folks, because don't think that, well, I already did it, so they got to figure it out.
My thought is you can come on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna pull up a seat for you and let you answer this question for us.
Yeah.
All right.
Diversion aside.
Well, it ties right.
But it does.
It ties right into the same idea.
It does.
Yeah. And that's why I said for 3 weeks, the one passage that's been consistent all 3 weeks with somebody that I've talked to after the sermon when they're coming to me to talk about something going on in their life. All 3 weeks, I've brought up the passage, train your child up in the way they should go. But I don't know why. But for some reason, this sermon series of taking our thoughts captives
is bringing that up.
It's bringing that conversation to the foreground.
Yeah.
So even with us. All right. Ephesians chapter 4, we're going to be in verse 17
through
verse
24. I'll actually read it right this time. Now this I say and testify in the Lord, that you must no longer walk as the Gentiles do in the futility of their minds. They are darkened in their understanding, alienated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them. Due to their hardness of heart, they have become callous and have given themselves up to sensuality, greedy to practice every kind of impurity. But that is not the way you learned Christ. Assuming that you have heard about him and you were taught in him as the truth is in Jesus, to put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to put on the new self, created after the likeness of God, in true righteousness and holiness. I'll tell you, reading that and saying it, I don't think I realized how long that sentence that's a long sentence.
Is it all one sentence?
Yeah. In the ESV it is. I don't know how
Welcome to Paul. I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing for him.
Yeah.
In fact, I think what you'll find if you read the book of Ephesians in the English Standard, it's all like a lot of it's one big sentence. There's just
when you're reading it, you don't
huge
see it that
paragraph.
way, but when you're talking, you're like, man, it's the same thing. No periods.
Well, he's talking about the same thing. This is an idea that lives inside of a concept, and that word in the English Standard that lets us know this is still all tied together is in verse 17. He says, in the New Living, he says, "Live by," but in the English Standard, I think he's going to say, "No longer walk."
Correct.
And that word "walk" is very consistent in the book of Ephesians of, okay, it's like this. Every time we see that word "walk," it gives us a new idea, a way of thinking. Walk, and you'll see it again, and it's like, oh, that's a new idea and a way of thinking. Walk, and I love that. I should keep reading, but I just gotta do this. I love that he uses the word "walk," because the word "live" in the New Living Translation kind of makes it feel more, I don't know, walk seems more generous. Walk seems more like you don't have to have it perfect and right all the time. It's a journey. And part of that journey is, hey, you're going to mess it up sometimes and you're going to walk along too fast at some point. Yeah. I love that word "walk." But the New Living Translation gets rid of it. So here we go. New Living Translation, verse 17. "With the Lord's authority, I say this, live no longer as the Gentiles do, for they are hopelessly confused. Their minds are full of darkness, and they wander far from the life God gives because they have closed their minds and hardened their hearts against him. They have no sense of shame. They live for lustful pleasures and eagerly practice every kind of impurity. But that isn't what you learned about Christ, since you have heard about Jesus and have learned the truth that comes from him. Throw off your sinful way, your nature, and your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. Instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like God, truly righteous and holy."
It is fascinating how the NLT and the ESV is that one long thought, and the NLT is broken. Anyway, message. "And so I insist, and God backs me up on this, that there be no going along with the crowd. The empty-headed, mindless crowd. They refuse for so long to deal with God that they've lost touch not only with God, but with reality itself. They can't think straight anymore. Feeling no pain, they let themselves go in sexual obsession, addicted to every sort of perversion. But that's no life for you. You learned Christ. My assumption is that you've paid careful attention to him, been well instructed in the truth precisely as we have in Jesus. Since then we do not have the excuse of ignorance, everything, and I do mean everything, connected with that old way of life has got to go. It's rotten through and through, get rid of it, and then take on an eternity new way of life, a God-fashioned life, a life renewed from the inside, and working itself into your conduct as God accurately reproduces his character in you."
I actually like the Message. I know that it's a
A
little
little
funky,
weird, but it's a good summary.
but it does a great job of painting a picture.
Yeah.
Like as you're listening to it, maybe in the English Standard you don't see in the picture, but when I sat and listened to you read, I started seeing pictures of. I know this sounds horrible, but of different people I know. Like there are people that I know who, man, their minds just can't think because they're controlled by something. Where I didn't get that picture when you read the English Standard, but I got it. It came up immediately when you read the Message.
Yeah, and it probably talks about some of the actual things
Yeah.
rather than creating more of the concept that hits the actual idea or the actual act itself.
All right. Well, what did you like? What challenged you? Those are the first two questions, and we'll just talk about them in
all
circles.
together.
Yeah.
I really liked how he talks about the darkness being 4 different sort of ideas, but the light being simple. He creates this darkness is complex, light is simple. I thought that was a pretty cool.
The idea of the
light in reality is easier than darkness.
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of see that now because there's four ways that the darkness kind of plays out in someone's life, and then there was really only 2 ways that the light plays out in someone's life. So it's half the number. Paul, when he writes, he just lends himself to points, and this is one where he's like, he just lent himself right to some good points. What else is anything else you like in there?
I really like in this aspect how I've tried to, since we did it this year, I try to think back to how does this passage, what we just learned, tie back to the Sermon on the Mount? And he really highlights here what it means to be salt of the earth. And, Jesus gives us that, and then Paul kind of gives us the practicality behind it. I like that expansion on that idea. And fruit of the Spirit, too. So it's salt of the earth and fruit of the Spirit, right?
One of the things I liked the wording of walk. I think that's an important word to the book of Ephesians, especially if you're going to read, like someone wanting to read, keep reading 5 and 6. He's going to keep that word walk going to come up again and again throughout here. And it's a great way for us to think. Most of us, even no matter how we were raised, we probably could look at points in our life and think back to times when our brains were empty and full of nothing. Like we just filled them with things that weren't taking us anywhere. So I like that too. Like even the examples he used, we could pretty easily see ourselves, see other people, the way they've lived their lives. We can see it. So I love that about the passage.
Yeah. I also kind of like how he's not necessarily blaming the person, but I mean, is they are darkened in their understanding. He's not saying the person is bad. He's just saying their understanding of what their knowledge is bad. There's a difference, I think, in that. I wrote down he's describing more knowledge does not by itself beget kingdom outcomes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And
if you think about one of the smartest people of our generation was Stephen Hawking, whatever his name is, but he had a very improper conception of what everything was, and so the more he dug into things, the more he tried to seek. He looked at the lens just through that. He looked at the world just through that lens and didn't have a broad enough perspective to kind of see what Albert Einstein saw.
Man,
C.S. Lewis.
You brought up Daniel, and I love the book of Daniel. I'm like ready to go and use every example and go talk about the book of Daniel. But, it's exactly what happened in those kingdoms that Daniel lived in. The king would call for the wise men, the people who were full of knowledge, and they would just bring back like stupidity.
Yeah.
They would just bring back like, oh, we don't know. And it's because everything that you study has limits. You
Mhm.
know, if you dive down in the mathematics world, it's got limits. If
Yeah.
you dive down in the science world, it's got limits. And the worldviews that come, if that's your only source of study, I would think would not be great, purposeful worldviews.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that. It's like it's so funny. Their brain, like, but he's definitely saying like their brains can't even really think, you know,
Yeah.
futility.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can't come up with it. What challenges you with the passage?
Well, can I do one more that I like here?
You can. You are more than welcome to do one more that you like.
I love how Paul talks about, you know, if you drive into town, first thing you see when you're driving into a highway that most people see is what?
First thing people see.
The scrapyard.
Oh yeah. From the interstate.
And if you talk to most people, they're like, man, there's just junk everywhere. and they say junk. But what God sees is the same thing the person that owns it sees. It's not junk. It's treasure. And I think that's what Paul is highlighting here, is that God saves our trash and finds a way to turn our trash into something people want.
Yeah, no one intended for their life to get to the futility of thinking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
it's usually a small move.
No one intended it to get there. And honestly, you're probably right. A lot of people, when they look at other folks that are in futility of thinking and that's how their brains operate, they would say they're like that heap of trash down there, you know?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Anyway, that's something else I like there.
One of the things it says here is that let the Holy Spirit, let the Spirit renew your mind and your attitude.
Yeah.
How does the English Standard say that line?
And to be renewed in the spirit of your minds.
And be renewed in the spirit of your minds.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's interesting. So the English Standard's like even saying that our minds themselves have a difference between the two of them.
Yeah.
That it's not just thinking, but it also is the spirit of your mind.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just an emotional tie to it as well.
But it's let God do it.
Oh, yeah.
And any person, no matter where they find themselves, they can let God renew them. They can let God renew their mind or the spirit of their mind.
Yeah.
Challenges that we've faced or think through. One of the challenging things for me, and it's challenging in parenthood. You've brought it up. So the idea of, you know, I pushed writing down our emotions and thinking through emotions and taking them to God. And that's not fun for me either. You know, for anybody in the world that thinks that I have this perfect, I don't. My wife literally, when we sat down in the car, said, okay, meet kettle. You gonna take your own advice? And then she said, but I can tell over the last few days how you've been wrestling with this passage, because you actually have done that more, and just as you've wrestled with the passage. And I was like, yeah, I need to do a better job of it. One of my friends, a gentleman, is a perfect example of using his emotions. He's been in a process of praying his emotions to God, and when he's feeling it, just praying it and giving it to God, identifying it, you know, which is difficult. I mean, that's one of the things I learned in counseling, was how to identify my emotions. I always thought I only was angry or happy or sad. Right. That was about all I ever had, but there's others around that. But anyway, this friend of mine wrote me the most heartfelt, emotion-filled note of encouragement. It's because he's tapped in and been through the year process of like praying his emotions over to God.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that is definitely, you are listening to two men talk. So that is definitely the challenge. Yeah. Is the logical side of it all I get, but the emotional side is not as easy to tap into. We're given these emotions for a reason, you know. But I think, too, it's not just about finding a emotion for peace. You know, I think that's a common misconception Christians have, is that following God creates peace, and that's not always the case. But I think the following, this is what I picked up. I've had that thought for a while, but tying it together to the challenge here is when you take those emotions, the fear, the whatever it is, and just tell God you're afraid, I think that's when he starts to show you the way.
This is advice from someone who I don't know. And again, I'm not very good at this myself, but one of the things that helped me identify emotions was something called the emotion wheel. And you can Google it. There's several versions of it out there. And it's just a wheel of like, okay, would you describe yourself as happy? And then there's other branches off of happy. Would you describe yourself as afraid? And there's other branches off of it that just help you think about different ways of identifying your emotions.
It might actually be easier, and this might be the whole purpose behind it, for us to express our emotions to God. And we're doing it in that particular manner. It probably, I guess based upon what I'm hearing from you, your friend started doing that, and now he is properly displaying his emotions to those around him as well.
Mm-hmm. And using them to express Jesus.
Right.
Using
fear by itself is terrible, but fear to point to Jesus,
using his emotions and his ability, because he's more able to identify his own emotions, but he's able to see and identify someone else's emotions. His note of encouragement came from the sermon, from something that was more emotional for me. And then he gave me the encouragement. But he wasn't the only person who keyed in on that was a more emotional part of what God was doing in Justin that week. There was another gentleman who came to the building and he was like, I've got something I have to bring you. And he brought me a shirt that was Philippians 4:13 and reminded me through, he showed me a picture on his phone of a prayer that I put on the screen one time. And he was like, do you remember when you did this? And I said, I'll be honest, I don't remember. And he said, this is the prayer I pray every morning. And he was tapped into his emotions, right? He saw and knew and understood. So, and used it as a way to encourage someone else expressing Jesus. So I think that should be our goal. Our end goal in life should be that people knew of us, that we were people who experienced and expressed Jesus consistently.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to use your weakness to do that.
Yeah.
You got to let your weakness be the platform. And for most men,
it's hard.
Emotions are going to be where we're weak.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard.
Yeah. Yes, the challenge was easy this week.
Yeah.
But if you're a woman, tell us what the challenge might be for you. Where do you see the challenge in this passage? Because, and if you'll share it with us, we'll share it next week. 'Cause I think again, we're looking at it from just our perspectives, and we're driving on the interstate in a car, not a motorcycle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We only see what's in front of us.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, I think that, are you going to do any journaling or anything like that this week?
Journaling?
Yeah.
Probably not. But I probably will make a more concerted effort to say, all right, hey, God, I feel stressed in this situation. I feel afraid. And I don't know that journaling will ever be a part of what I do. I've tried it before, and I've just it's never connected and resonated with me. Mm-hmm. I have plenty of conversations with God throughout the day, and so, but they're never, hey, I feel alone here, or I feel afraid here, or I'm really not sure what to do. I don't have enough of those.
Very cool.
Not that I know that, I don't know. It's always hard when you know that he knows it to still say it. I think we talked about that last week. Mm-hmm. Saying aloud that you have it is the first step in the path to removing the stronghold. Yeah.
And he's not going to be mad at us.
No.
No matter where.
Job shows us that.
Yeah, no matter where our emotions find us, or we are in our emotions, he's not going to be mad at us. He's not going to be like, I can't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. What do you learn about God and people through this passage?
You first. I got my mind got sidetracked to all that. No, I need to, because I had something. I just got to go back to it. Yeah.
So, about God, I think one of the things that we learn, and I've learned, is that in that process of taking your emotions to Him, they're not always going to be theologically correct, and I don't think that's His expectations of us, that they're always theologically correct. I mean, why did some of the Psalms make it in there? Because there were sometimes David was like way off emotionally and was in the bad spot, but they're still part of the Word of God, His ordained word to us.
Part of what creates deep relationships is authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think God wants the improper emotions sometimes because that means we're being authentic with them.
Yeah. One of the things I think about God too with this is, if God created us in His image, if that is a true factual thing, that means that God has emotions too. And if God created emotions and God has emotions, He feels them more than we do. He feels them deeper, hard, maybe harder, however you'd like to say that. So something that we see that makes us sad, I can only imagine how much more sad it makes the one who created those emotions, right? Yeah. That's one of the things I think about with this passage, and with the idea of where we went with the passage. That's always a question for me, is like, did I take the passage way too far out of its context and push it into an application that it wasn't supposed to be in? I guess there's always a good chance that happens, but all right. God and people.
For me, God it's not a new learning as much as a reminder that God does not view my darkness the way that I view my darkness. A good reminder for me and for anybody else that I view it as trash, but God views it as something He can turn into a treasure.
All right. It's about people. We're going to be negative and positive, or just positive?
Well, I think we got to do both.
Okay. All right.
The negative here is easy, right?
Oh, dude, the negative, it is easy. And he picks out these symptoms that you can see all the time. I mean, negative is easy. We all agree that there are people who just think futilely. They just live life for whatever's the next big thing, the big high, the more money, the next sale.
We as people have a natural, predisposition to want our morality to come from the world, because then it matches what the world is, and it's easier to fit in. That's the bad thing about people, is that we have a desire to just fit in with everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And the positive side, I think the positive side is, with such a negative background, like a dark backdrop, man, those people who do live with a renewed mind, they're like a sparkling diamond. Like they stand out as just beautiful examples. Like you can almost even see it in the way I don't want to say the way they walk, maybe, but you can definitely see it in the way that, like, the first few times they talk to you, you can see it, like, even just 2 or 3 sentences in.
Yeah.
Man, they have a renewed mind.
Yeah.
And they live and walk by the spirit of that renewed mind.
I guess the good about people too is the fact that we can become that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've harped on that too much lately, but it's still this idea that we have the ability to put on the new self, created after the likeness of God.
And He wants us to.
Oh gosh, yeah.
He wants us to.
Yeah.
He wants us to be defined that way.
Yeah.
For His benefit and for ours, but for His. That His kingdom would grow.
Oh, yeah. Every, we don't talk about it before, but the after, therefore, put away your falsehood and He gives you the kind of what you're not supposed to do. After this, it gives you, if you don't know like, how do I do this? Just read 25 through 32.
Oh, and then go to chapter 5 and say, walk by the light. He's going to tell you what it means to walk by the light and to walk in love. I mean, just keep reading. He's going to give you more great examples of behavior. But I think the reason why I started here is because just like you and I talked about parenting wise, you got to start with why first.
Yeah.
Let's start with why first before we start building these, because Christianity is not about behavior modifications.
No.
That's not, God doesn't want that.
No.
Yeah. He wants your mind to be renewed.
Yeah.
And let that be what modifies.
Right. And yeah, exactly. Christianity is not fake it until you make it.
No.
There may be some aspects that are, right? Like the posturing of the heart for the emotion. Like there's going to be probably some, I've forgotten what passage now, but the kneeling and bowing down sort of thing. Sometimes you got to fake that side to actually experience it. But Christianity itself, to be the renewed, it's not a fake it for the behavior. It's either is or it isn't.
Well, is there anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. We want some questions. We'd love for
the women to give us their perspective on what the challenge is here.
Yeah. Tell us a challenge. If you're really in tune with your emotions already and that's something that's easy for you, what was challenging for you?
Yeah. Maybe it is the logic side. I don't know.
And then share the podcast, share the video, send it to a friend. Hey, maybe this will help them.
I will say I won't share the story because I don't think it's proper, but as you're listening to the sermons and you're listening to maybe the podcast too, you'll probably see ways that, because it happened to us recently, you'll see ways about how these applications actually, or these lessons apply to real life. But if you're not looking for it and the darkness is all that you've got, you'll never see it.
I'm going to close this in prayer. God, our Father, we come before you and just give you thanks for every good and perfect gift, the God that you've given to us. And God, I thank you for Brandon and for his openness and willing to just open the door to his life and to the way he walks before you, to use it as a way to express you to our audience. And God, I would just pray that you would find more of us to walk humbly this way and use experiences that you've given us to teach us, but to also be able to teach others. We pray that as we wrestle this week with our emotions, that our hearts don't go away with us and lead us astray, but that they lead us to you and to you as our source. And so as we talk about our emotions, may we bring them to you and make them submissive to Christ. God, we ask all of this in the precious and holy name of Jesus. Amen.
Go choose Christ completely.